Hello everybody, welcome to the Interesting Modelling Company Sunday service, and it is indeed the Walker Bulldog Challenge finale tonight. Some of us finished their model.
And some of us very much didn't. So
Go on, Spence, tell them the story.
So it's simply down to work. I've got a very involved large model I've got to get finished for next week,
Right.
and next week coming up. So deadlines took over, unfortunately, and I couldn't split my time too much. And although I did do quite a bit on the Walker Bulldog, I did all the construction and the painting of the back end and sort of base coats and all of that sort of stuff. I'm really not good at working on more than one model at a time. In fact, I actively loathe it. So, and I can't, once I'm focused on one thing, I can't then sort of disassociate myself and start working on something else. So unfortunately, the Walker Bulldog took a back seat, and I focused entirely on what I've got to get finished. So unfortunately, it's not done. It will be done in the next couple of weeks. So once this model's finished and out of the way and photographed and delivered, gone out, I can then work on the Walker Bulldog. So it'll be finished by kind of first week in February, I would think. Now is the time. But yeah, unfortunately, unlike when we were in lockdown where the deadlines were the challenge deadlines, unfortunately now I have work commitment deadlines, and they always take precedent over this kind of thing. And what I wanted to do with the model wasn't to build it just from the box. It was to do, I detailed it and I reworked areas, and I added stowage, and I want to put figures on it and all of that kind of stuff. And I don't really want to rush that. As I've wanted to build the model for a while, I thought it's probably a good idea if I just sort of put this one aside. So yeah, we'll be finished. I apologize to everybody for being tardy and not very good at my job. But yeah, it's just one of those kind of things, really. But like I say, I just don't like to work on two models side by side. It just doesn't work for me at all. I need to focus, and I found that if I was sort of doing this for a couple of hours and then going back to what I was the other thing I was building, and flipping backwards and forwards, my attention wasn't completely on it. So apologize for all of that, and yeah, hopefully you'll like it when it is finally done at some point.
Well, I have been so rushed off my feet today trying to sort everything out, finish the model off everything, that I've just realized that I haven't even uploaded my final model photographs here. So might have to I might have to disappear for a while, or I'm going to be very rude. I'm going to be sat here looking. It's very professional, isn't it? I'm going to be very, very professional here, sat looking at my phone whilst I am desperately trying to get these images up on the Facebook page. So I do apologise, folks. Goodness me, what an amateur, really.
Shameful.
I know, absolutely shocking. Right, I tell you what, I'm going to go and grab my model. I haven't even got my camera set up here tonight, because it's just been such a hectic day. So let me just go and grab my model, and I'll tell you a story at the same time. So
he's left me to it. He's just left me to talk to you lot. That can't be good.
Right, bear with. There is my Walker Bulldog. So there we go. It's proof that it is actually finished. Slight caveat, in as much as for some reason a couple of the road wheels went AWOL, and I don't know where they've gone. And I spent an inordinate amount of time today turning the workshop upside down trying to find these missing road wheels. No idea where they've gone. So,
how did you paint them? Have you put the road wheels up with the weathering materials that you
no,
use?
I painted them all separately, but they were all on one big block of styrofoam on cocktail sticks.
Okay,
So,
and do you know where that block of styrofoam is?
it was in the box, the kit box, with everything else.
Wow, that's weird.
No, it's I swear somebody's come along and just half-inched them. So
Do you think your cat might have found them
I think
amusing?
I think my cat is I think he's getting fed up of the fact that I'm spending too much time in the workshop, and I think he's tried to sabotage the Walker Bulldog challenge. So anyway,
Right.
so I'll just talk you through a few things on this. One is that, as you may have seen, I made the mantlet cover using tissue paper and VMS paper shaper, which Tim Maunder bought me about 3-4 years ago. Never used it. And anyway, so I made the dust cover, and also added the some of the missing details on the side of the hull. I textured the exhaust manifold areas just to give it a bit more of a rusty feel. I also replaced the grab handles on the turret. Error number one here. Without even consulting the excellent Walker Bulldog reference book I've got here, I naturally assumed they all face up the same way on the turret. No, the bottom ones have the lug facing upwards. The top ones have the lug facing downwards.
Mm-hmm.
Wah, wah. So I'll take that one on the chin. And there are a few other kind of flubs and things that went slightly south on this one, but more importantly, and we'll come to this in a second, is it's no longer for me it is no longer a photograph in a Tamiya catalogue.
No.
If you're with me.
Yeah.
So at least now, when I actually look at the Tamiya catalogue, I can see this model, and I can say to myself, "Built that."
Yes.
Anyway, right. So what we'll do is we'll also just explain a bit behind the reason behind this. Was it's such a kind of like a long stayer in the Tamiya range. I mean, goodness me, I don't think this has ever actually gone out of the range in the 50 plus years it's actually been in existence. And
no, I don't think it has. I think it's from the minute it was first released. It's been an ever present. It's pretty much like the Flak 37, the Hanomag, the original Panther 8. It's like that. It's sort of stayed in the range. Whereas some numbers from around that era have sort of come and gone. I'm thinking Lee and Grant, for instance. They sort of came and went, and then came back again. This one hasn't. It's always been in there, and it's always been cheap as well. This kit's remarkably cheap. Jadlam, when they came on, they set up a deal where you could order one of these, including postage and packing to wherever you were, for £15, which is really good value for a kit like this. So we were really kind of pleased to be able to offer this challenge out, weren't we? I think that was more in our minds than simply you and I going at it like we did during the lockdowns.
Yep.
Where we did Pink Panther, the Panther A. What else did we do?
Pink Panther. Panzer 2.
Oh, Panzer 2, yeah. So I think what's pleased us most about this, and it's one of the reasons why I don't feel too bad not finishing mine, is this has become more of a community build, hasn't it? Amongst people that like to watch three middle-aged blokes regularly rambling on about absolutely nothing. And they've sort of got involved in that. And we've seen a lot of people building models over the last, I guess, 4 weeks, something like that, over the Christmas period. So I think that's pleased us more, hasn't it, than what we've done with our own builds. We were obviously the kickoff point and the jump off point. We were, because originally this was going to be an actual challenge between the two of us, wasn't it? That was the plan. I think when we finished, when we finished the Panther, this was going to be the next one. It was coming along, or Pink Panther or whatever. This was going to be the next one, and we had sort of ideas in mind. But that didn't really come to fruition, basically, because both of us returned to our day jobs. Work got back into our sort of sphere of influence, and we started again to work on other things. So we didn't really have that challenge. So when we suggested it over Christmas, it was really just a way of bringing people together, wasn't it, and giving them something to do over the Christmas break. And I'm delighted to have seen so many people buy one of these kits, put it together, and approach it in really kind of different ways as well. We've had all sorts of things done to these models, so that's been really exciting, I think, and really pleasing.
I think I would agree with you. Is you know me, I mean, my sincere condolences, but I am so keen on making sure this hobby is as accessible to as many people as possible. And rather than us going off on a tangent and picking some impossibly, kind of expensive or complex kit, to have gone for, a real kind of Tamiya classic, and to see so many people respond has been brilliant. And rather than me waffle on, I think we need to start bringing up some of other people's models. So bear with, because unfortunately I formatted everything to go live tonight and the formatting hasn't worked. So anyway, so here we've got Andy Davey, and he's managed to use the figures, which I singularly failed to do. So yeah, absolutely brilliant stuff. I mean, Andy's gone for a kind of like a straight from the box approach. Nothing wrong with that. And it's just great that, as we said, it's just great that people are actually engaging and, building models. So right, let me grab the next victim. I mean, the next. Oh, for goodness sake, this blooming program isn't working tonight. It's because we've been away for a month, and it's ring rustiness. Oh, come on, man. Nope, it ain't doing what I want to do. Oh, here we go. Andy King, right. What you do on Sunday? I watched a middle-aged man from Dudley not know how to use his MacBook. So, right, here we go. Andy King. Andy King went for a Japanese self-defense version, and he also got the grab handles up the right way, which I failed to do. And he also, if you can see on that photograph there, he also added the auxiliary exhaust on top of the main one,
which I think makes this an M41A2.
Right.
I think the auxiliary exhaust was used on later. So he's actually, I think, if my brain was working properly, that Andy's actually converted this to a later version, which is kind of cool.
Yep, absolutely.
If there's anybody out there that wants to, correct me on that, because my knowledge of these things is limited, I think, at best. But I think that's a conversion, which is really cool.
Yep.
He's also actually nice to see it not in American colors.
Yeah. Yep. He's also replaced the Browning machine gun as well with a much better one. I just used the kit item. and he's also done a bang up job on the aerials as well, because he's added the insulators at the bottom, which again I didn't do on mine. So that is an absolutely top job. So well done, Andy King. That is yep, that is oops daisy. And also he's done the the cover for the mantlet as well. And in fact, if you go and have a look at Andy's construction photographs, he actually built a frame before he added the the tissue and whatever for the for the cover itself. So really quite quite remarkable work. So and if you also have a look at his construction photographs, because I do believe they are on our page, Andy also corrected the jerry can, added the 3 handles to it. So he's really pulled a shift on this one, and it's just absolutely fabulous stuff.
It is, and I'm just wondering whether Andy's going to now go out and build a 35th scale Godzilla to go with his Japanese M41. That would be rather
very good, very good. Right, next we have.
And knowing Andy the way I do, that might not be too much of a stretch. He's probably sitting there thinking, "Can I do this? Could I?" Maybe not.
Well, next up is Anthony Bird, and Anthony again. He's pulled a shift on this one. Let me just call up the images a second. Not only has he included figures, he's also made a diorama, and his photography is absolutely exquisite. So
it's a really nice build, isn't it?
Yep, absolutely. I wish I'd thought of adding ration packs to mine. I mean, this is the thing is that today, as I was looking at other people's models, I was just thinking, as I was trying to process the photographs very badly, and I was seeing what other people had done, and I was just like, oh, wish I'd thought of that. Oh, I wish I'd done that. And that is just absolutely beautiful. That's such a fabulous diorama as well. Yeah, well done, Anthony. That is, like I say, you really pulled a shift on that one. And you're right there, Spence.
Oh yeah,
well,
damn cough.
Yeah, I know the feeling. Yep, I think that is fabulous, and I think I like the diorama work as well, the groundwork.
Yeah, it's really, really nice. He's done such a nice job, and setting it on a little vignette like that is just a great way of displaying it. It's really nice.
Yep. No, absolutely, absolutely top dollar stuff. Next, oh God, I'm gonna have to find a better way of doing this. Find a better way of doing it, or just prepare a bit more. Prepare a bit better for next time. So next tonight is Dan Wood. Let me just call up the images here. Oh, for goodness sake, this is a sterling kind of like example tonight on how not to do a show. It really is. Anyway, there we go. That's Dan's model. Again, Dan's gone the route of making the dust cover for the mantlet. And I'm just having a quick look to see if he's done his jerry cans. He's painted them a different color, which I wish I'd done. Again, it's seeing other people's models and wishing I'd nicked those ideas in the process. Dan's also added the missing details on the side of the stowage bins on the side of the hull as well. Yeah, that's a really good job. I really like that the dust cover he's done on the mantlet there. That's and I wish I'd done something with the figures as well, but I ran out of time, unfortunately. So that's a top effort by Dan there.
I like the way seeing the model with the turret and the gun pointing over the top of the engine deck.
Yeah.
That's the way it is on the box art, and I think it looks quite cool like that actually.
Well,
with the if you look at the box art the vehicle is backwards, it's back to
yeah,
front, so the rear of the vehicle is the point of focus, and then the gun is coming over, sort of sat almost in its travel lock. And I think
yeah,
that's a really nice way of doing it. I was thinking about doing that with mine, but the way
yeah,
it's going to be posed now, you can see there it's sat in its travel lock. And actually, the Walker Bulldog looks better that way round.
yeah.
It looks really cool like that. So
It was only when I was part way through building mine that that I suddenly realised, oh, hang about that box art. It's, as you say, it's facing rearwards.
yeah,
I'd
quite
never
unusual.
clocked that in all the years I've seen that box art. That never registered at all.
I think part of it is because the sprocket, like a lot of these vehicles, like a lot of American post-war vehicles, the sprocket is at the back of the vehicle, not the
Yeah,
front, like it is on a Sherman. So you sort of see it like that, and subconsciously you think it's the right way round because the sprocket leads the picture, but it isn't. It's the other way round, and I just really like it like that. It's not like that. The photograph of the model in the catalogue isn't like that. It's it's
no,
the right way round. But I think that the vehicle looks kind of cool with the gun in the travel lock like that.
yeah,
And it's just, I don't know, it seems quite purposeful that like that. It's nice.
yeah.
So seeing models posed like that is kind of cool, I think.
Yep, absolutely. Right, next up is it's, I do believe it's David Mummery, and
Interestingly as well, that I certainly for my point of view, and a lot of other people seem to have done the same sort of thing. I simply added details using the box art as my reference. And I thought that looks kind of good. You know, it looks like it's realistic. Had a look at some photographs, and although some of the details aren't, you know, quite the same, it served its purpose. It was something that I had as a ready reckoner. And while I was building mine, I had the box in front of me on my desk, and I just looked at the photographs and at the picture, thought, yeah, I can add that. I'll add those, and yeah, really cool.
yeah. Apologies to David. He sent them via Facebook Messenger, and Facebook Messenger has this horrible habit of shrinking the photographs down. So I did have a run round Facebook to see if I could find some bigger res images. So apologies, David.
Maybe you could open one of the images on your desktop, John, and then screen grab the picture. You'll get a higher resolution image that you can then share.
Yeah, I'm just having a look. Yeah, see, I've enlarged them, but it's starting to madly pixelate a bit now because unfortunately the base resolution
You can't really
is
see that on the
yeah,
screen. It gives you a better idea
yeah,
of what he's done on that.
yeah. But
I like the
again,
red dust weathering on this
yeah,
one.
absolutely. Yeah, that's real. Again, I see other people's models and I think to myself, oh, I wish I'd nicked that idea. Which it probably speaks volumes for how we've done the challenges in the past, where everything's kept secret between between modelers. I don't know. I actually like this. I actually quite like this approach where you can watch what other people are doing and then kind of go in there and steal their ideas. Quite frankly, so well done, David. That's absolutely top dollar stuff. Goodness me, we're going to be here. We're going to be here for a while, Spence, because we've got so many people have contributed to this. So let me just go and grab. This is Donald Dar, and he's done something. He's done his as a South Vietnamese one. Let me just call it up a second, and let me read you a bit of blurb on what Donald says about it. Bear with. That's like me doing my ghost stories. He says he built this one for the Vietnam War Museum in Weatherford, Texas, and it's an ARVN used M41. So So I like his thinking there, and again, he's managed to kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Disguise the shortcomings on the kit gun by covering it with a tarp, which good thinking. That I like that, and again, he's done the mantlet cover as well. So it's good to see so many people kind of like coming up with similar ideas and similar solutions as well. So
Yeah, I think so.
yeah, and like I say, he's gone for something very different there by doing a South Vietnamese one. So right,
Because it's such an odd mix, isn't it? The kit, for a kit that was released in '73, I think, if my memory serves, you've got some quite simplified areas. That 50 cal is really simplified, and tracks are obviously simplified and everything. But then you look at the engine deck, and it's beautiful, and you think, oh, they created so much detail around that engine deck and the vents.
Yep.
And then you look at other things that are quite simplified. The jerry cans are really simplified. They didn't have separate parts for the handles, so that you've only got the sort of two handles on those. It's just such an odd mix, but it was almost like, to me, it was starting to get into their flow. They were trying. You could see that where the
learning
travel
curve
was going to go for them, and
Yeah.
within the next sort of few years, they were going to start releasing other kits that had similar levels of detail. And when you compare what they created with this 1973 kit and compare that to other manufacturers, UK-based manufacturers, and what they released in 1973, you started to get a real sense that something magical was only around the corner, really, and people were going to start to see really intricate detail coming from there. But it also, I think, this kit sets its stall out in much the same way that newer Tamiya kits do, in that it's super simple to build. It's incredibly easy to build. I think if I wanted to build this from the box and I wasn't adding detail to it, it's 2 hours.
Yep.
I would think maximum to put this thing together. Once you've cleaned up the wheels and put them in, I think I did the chassis and the wheels just to get them in place. I think that was like 30 minutes or something, which is extraordinary for a kit of in 35th scale. But once you've got those basics in place, then you've got a brilliant canvas that you can start adding detail to. You can start adding all the kind of stowage, figures, like you say, little things like tarpaulins over 50 cals, ammo boxes, those kind of things. You can do so much with it. There are areas, I guess, that we would, if you wanted to. I thought about replacing the tracks, for instance, on mine. And then I thought, do I really want to replace the tracks in a £15 or £12 kit with tracks that are like 15 quid? And I was just like, no, what's the point? May as well just, if I wanted to do that, I may as well go out and buy the AFE Club one and have everything super detailed for me, ready to go. So it's such a good little canvas to work on. It's like a lot of kits from that era, and we've built a few, haven't we? Panther being a good example, but it's such a lovely little thing to have a go at.
Well, I'm just going to say, you mentioned that engine deck, and I think this is a brilliant example. Is that there is absolutely no detailing going on there on your part.
No, I don't think I added anything. No, not around that area. I don't think so. I added a few bolt heads here and there around the mud guards, and a few brackets here and there. Also along the edge, if you look at you've got 3-4 vents on the engine deck. You've got 2 side vents, and then you've got a large square one, and then a smaller one just that's underneath the turret bustle. There are some hinges that run along the side of the hull on those 2 sort of rectangular ones that run the length of the sides of the hull. And I added extra hinge detail in there and bolt detail in there, which you can see in the photographs, my production photographs, you can see in there, but you can't but beyond that, it's pretty much as it comes out of the box. So my challenge to myself with this model was to bring out as much of that detail as I could with paint, rather than it's sort of sitting in the background under dust. I wanted to sort of accentuate everything, and that's what I've done. So this is much lighter than a model I would normally paint in olive drab. I'd normally have something that was a bit darker than this. But I really like, I think the lighter colors suit this quite a lot, actually, and bring out all of that detail. And also, for those who'd seen my V1 diorama that I finished before Christmas, I think, one of the things I did on that was that the groundwork was really accentuated. I dry brushed all of the texture on the groundwork. So that's something that I want to plan into this. So I think when I discussed this with you, I said that I wanted to create a model that looked pretty. When you looked at it, it doesn't look like a sort of standard armor build. It's more attractive as a subject, and that attractive look was something that I wanted to mirror the way that I build and paint aircraft, because my aircraft tend to be very sharply painted. They've got a sharp precision to them that I've worked really hard to try and get to, and that's something that I wanted to do on this. And that engine deck is a perfect canvas for me to put into practice some of those ideas that I've used on other things. And like I say, it's when people see this, if you see this model in the flesh, it's very light. It's a very pale finish, but that allows me to add all of the other dirt and grime around the engine deck, which sometimes I find on my models can be lost against a darker background. I don't really like using a lot of dust. So unless I accentuate detail with lighter areas of dust, and on this one, I've got the models on the desk here. On this one, that's so sort of around the tracks, you can sort of see there. If I put it up there, you can kind of see it's lighter to accentuate that detail. Whereas on the engine deck, it's far dark. That engine deck is quite dark. You can kind of see it. So that was the trick for me, really. That was something that I wanted to do, and I sat watching the TV one night and thinking about it, as I often do when I'm planning builds. I tend to do a lot of planning inside my head, and I think we've spoken about this before on here. Is when I start a model, when I pick a model that I need to build, Walker Bulldog, good example. I have in my head, before I start the model, before I cut any of the parts off the runners, before I apply any cement, any paint or anything like that, I have a very fixed view inside my head of how the model will look finished. And that's structurally, paintwork, all of the accessories, the vignette, if I'm building one of those. And unless I'm messing around like I did with the V1 and I consigned part of it to the bin, that never deviates from, I never deviate from that. So the model is always, when I finished it, is always exactly the way that I imagined it in the first place. And I never go away from that unless something comes along that I haven't legislated for. Montana Air National Guard F-106 cockpit colors is a good example of that. I specifically wanted to build that F-106 in Montana Air National Guard colors, but I painted the cockpit grey, and on that unit had bright blue cockpits. It was the only one that did. So I had to deviate from that. But in this case, that was something that I felt that I wanted to do. And that's been the joy for me. And I think that when you see other approaches, that's my approach. When you see other approaches, obviously people have dragged joy out of this kit in other ways. They've either built a vignette around it or added some details to it, or in Mike Reeves' case, built one pretty much. He's only ever built 2 armored vehicles, I think. So it's been good for that. That's a nice, really kind of nice way of bringing really disparate ideas together from a disparate group of model makers, all on different skill levels, all on different parts of the path, that we've talked about many times before, to create and to enjoy the same basic project.
And especially one which, it's a kit that is essentially as cheap as chips. So you can let loose with it a little bit more, without worrying about screwing up you know, 50 quid, 50, well, you've seen the price of armor kits these days, you know, 50,
Yes.
60, 70, 80 pounds.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's the
Well,
response.
that was one of the reasons why that was part of a fundamental part of our challenge, wasn't it? When we
Yeah,
back in 2020, when we did our first challenge, I think the Panzer II might have been one of the first ones, if not the first one. When we
yeah,
did the Panzer II, that Panzer II is £10. It
yeah,
was a £10 kit. So neither of us felt in any way that if we made a mess of it and it was complete, we made a complete haulix of of our bills. Yes, it's £10, and we should never kind of be too too um,
cavalier.
quick to write £10 off.
Yeah,
But if it had have happened, it's a £10 kit. Essentially, it's
mm,
it's not breaking the bank. It hasn't broken an amazing amount of time because again, it takes couple of hours to put these things together. It was essentially us turning the clock back to when we were kids. Pocket money. That's what
yeah,
they are, aren't they? This is
yeah,
a pocket money kit. It might be 35th. It might be made by Tamiya, but essentially it's a pocket money kit. In
yeah,
the same way that if you were to sort of go backwards to when we built 76th scale Matchbox armor kits, they were pocket money kits. This is just a bigger scale, but it's
yeah.
essentially the same thing.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Craig Sargent, he says, let me just bring this up a second. He says, had one in Hobby Lobby last time, was in the US for $5 before discounts.
Wow.
So,
So they were basically giving it away.
yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Let's bring up a few more of other people's models. I will say hello to everybody who's tuned in because we've got a monster crowd tonight, and thank you everybody who's decided to come along and in the middle of January and watch two middle-aged men wax lyrical about their favourite pastime. This is Harry Osso. Is it Osso? Osso. Again, another approach at that canvas gun mantlet as well, and yeah, fabulous stuff. It's just so good to see so many people joining in.
I love the color of the green. I love that. That's got a real sort of vibrancy to it. I think that's really nice, and that canvas cover is superb.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So thank you for that, Harry. Let me just change windows a second. I'm going to do this so much better next time, he said, more in hope than expectation. Bum, bum, bum. That was Harry. The next one is Helmut Meister. Again, I hope I'm getting the name right. Helmut has done an absolutely bang-up job here. His is absolutely teeming with stowage.
Oh, that's superb. Yeah. Wow.
Which is, again, it's one of the things that that I kind of kicked myself that I didn't really push myself to add more stowage to mine. What with one thing and another, it was a minor miracle that I managed to get it finished in the form it is. But I like this, and I like the machine gun he's got there with the blast shield on it. I've got to do one of the projects I've got to do this year is a vehicle absolutely festooned with stowage. So thank you, Helmut. That's inspired me to follow what you've done there. Absolutely. Again, somebody's taken a basic cheap kit and they've gone for it, and I think that is, yeah, that's what I like about modeling. It's not always about the latest greatest thing that you can throw lots of aftermarket at. And we're seeing people here. I don't want to use the phrase old-fashioned model making, but you know what I mean. It's more about invention rather than throwing money at a kit, which, to be honest, with the Tamiya Walker Bulldog, there probably isn't a slew of aftermarket you can throw at it anyway. So
Some new tracks, maybe a gun barrel.
Yeah,
but you can be stealing parts from other kits and
yeah,
to create. But that's the point I made earlier on. If I wanted to build a super detailed version of this, I'd go out and build. I think it's
kit.
AFE Club have done one. I'd
Yeah.
go out and build theirs.
Yeah.
Because it's got all those parts parts in it. And actually, I really like the vehicle. I think the Walker Bulldog's a fantastic looking machine. And if I was to create one of those, that's the route I would go down. It's a similar thing to the Sergeant York. I built Sergeant York during lockdown, and I created a what if from the Tamiya kit. It's completely inaccurate. There isn't a single thing on it really that's accurate to the original Sergeant York. But now Tacom have created a Sergeant York that replicates the real vehicle properly. So if I wanted to build an accurate Sergeant York, that's the one I would go after. So sometimes I think it's about it's about building these kits and seeing them for what they are. Don't expect miracles from a kit that was released in 1973. It isn't going to offer those kind of things. It's not going to offer the level of finesse. So I think all of us go into building these older kits with our eyes open, and that's where the originality comes from. And at the risk of sort of being overly contentious, I don't mean to be, but if 50 modelers all built the latest greatest from X, Y, and Z and put them on the table and didn't do anything with them other than built the kits, they would all look the same. Whereas because everything's kind of there for you, it's all laid out for you, and there isn't a huge amount that you can do with most things. Some of the latest and best kits, there isn't really a lot you can do with them other than change the color scheme or weather them in a different way or paint them in a different way. But these things are so simple and so kind of basic in their approach that you can have 50 modelers build them and they'll look like 50 different builds, all bringing in a modeler's experience, their skill levels, what they want to tell, the story they want to tell with them, that kind of thing. And they offer you, they sort of, they don't owe you anything. I think that's the great thing about these kits. They don't owe you anything. It's not like if you've got a 50 or 60 pound kit, it sort of owes you something because you've had a massive outlay to get to that point. Whereas a 10 pound kit that costs no more than a burger, fries and a pint doesn't really owe you a lot. And that's where that's why they're so attractive. Certainly to me, I like the idea of building something and thinking to myself, are people going to look at this and think, whose kit is that? I think that's one of the challenges that we did when we did those Panthers, wasn't it? Is somebody going to look at this and go, that Panther is X, Y, and Z? Is that unless you know Panthers, and then you go, that's definitely the ultimate kit because it looks so fat and so wide and the turret's all over the place and everything. But same sort of thing, really.
Yeah. Next up is James Fisher, and James, again, he's done the dust cover, and he's also faced his in the kind of like travel position as well. So wish I'd done, well, I say wish I'd done that with mine. I could do that with mine anyway, but yeah, again, just some really nice thinking going on here, and I mean this nice photography as well. But this is exactly what we wanted to achieve with this, which is just getting people building something cheap and cheerful. And so yeah, I really like that. And again, when I saw this one today, I thought, oh, there's ideas there I wish I'd stolen. And I especially like how he's got the massive petrol stain coming off the cap at the back, because I was a little bit too timid on mine. So yeah, I like that. That is brilliant. So thank you for that, James. Next,
I've just got to say, while you're talking, I'm constantly reading the comments.
Yeah,
Mike and Penn Richardson, where can I get a burger, fries, and a pint for a tenner? Come here. I could probably take you somewhere where you could get a burger, fries, and a pint for a tenner. Probably in town, actually, right now. I could. I'm thinking of 3 or 4 places. So yeah, sorry if it's a bit more expensive when you're. That's the good thing. That's the good thing about living in the West Midlands or up north. pint. You can get pint and fries and a burger for 30p. So yeah, actually now I'm so suggestible when it comes to these things. Now I want a pint with a burger and fries.
Yeah, you're making me feel hungry, and I haven't
Yeah.
had any. I haven't had any to eat today. So
Well, I've not had my meal today. So
no.
I think I had my porridge this morning, but I've not eaten anything since. So yeah, I'm feeling a bit hungry.
I'm
So
just trying to think what did I have this morning? Just my little breakfast bath, breakfast, kind of like snacky things, but that's been it. So and I've been out for a 2.5 mile walk as well. So right, Jen Wright. She went a completely original route here, and she did a World of Tanks version, which we'll show in a second. And hers,
this was bonkers and brilliant. I loved it.
Again, it's just there it is.
Oh,
World
there
of
it is.
Tanks, modern armor, and it's a Walker Bulldog with teeth and horns, effectively.
Wow.
Smoke discharges, goodness me. But and that's her finished model. Again, it's just brilliant that somebody's taken a cheap base kit and just gone, yeah, do you know what? I'm gonna do this. And I do believe that she's got a skull hanging off the end of the gun barrel as well. But yeah, I think it is. I'm not entirely sure. Jen will correct me. But again, I just great original thinking there. It's not something I would choose to do, but as we as we are often keen to point out on this program, is just because one person wouldn't do it doesn't mean another person wouldn't do it.
No, I really like it. I think it's great. And World of Tanks seems to be, I don't know too much about it, but I have seen some of the images. It does seem to be rich with inspiration for people that want to build something different from these models. And that's about as different as it gets. It's really fantastic. Yeah, I love it.
No, absolutely. Well done, Jen. I like that very, very much. Looking forward to seeing that at a model show at some stage. Next up is Miguel Escobar. And Miguel, this is quite something. He's gone the stowage route as well. But goodness me, he's absolutely ramped this one up with yeah, that is really quite something. And he's replaced the machine gun, which is more than I did. Yeah, I like that, Miguel. That's
obviously really kind of stylized based on the way he likes models to look, and everything has been really heavily weathered, and the sandbags around the side of the turret look really, that's really impressive. Very distinctive look, isn't it? And that's great. It's great to see so many different styles coming out on these.
Absolutely. There is no right way or wrong way to build a model. There is, it sounds like I'm talking cliche central here, but there is no right way or wrong way. There's your way. And Michael Reeves, a gentleman that I think we both know.
We do indeed.
We do indeed. And Mike's gone for just a straight from the box approach here, but Mike has done a diorama, and I love his mud. It
just looks to me, and I've followed this all the way through. I just get the sense that Mike really enjoyed this, and
yes,
it was a bit of a break from his main focus, which is obviously military aviation.
Yeah.
So to see him doing a military vehicle like this rather than aircraft, I think he said that this was his second ever. He's only ever built two military vehicles in his life, and this was the second one. So it's great to see that he had a go at it and enjoyed it. Nice one, Mike.
And again, that's that's the reason why we did this challenge, is just get people enjoying themselves. Enjoy your hobby. If you're not enjoying your hobby, it's not a hobby anymore. And it's, like I say, just seeing people throwing ideas, and it's we will be doing another kind of open challenge like this at some stage, because I've just enjoyed the sense of community it creates as well, which I think can be, given that as modelers we can be very singular, get my teeth in, singular and introspective. So to see people kind of really kind of going for it, I think it's great. Right, that's the next one is Moz of Moz Models, and he went for a straight from the box approach as well, which is great. And sorry, my connection's gone a bit funny. Yep, there we go. Well done, Moz.
Yeah, that's nice too. The weathering on that looks really nice. I'm looking at it on my sort of desktop here, and it's obviously tried to recreate all the dust on the upper surfaces, which is something that I've not done. So that looks really good. It's very similar to the way it looks on the box art, which is great. And it's interesting as well how many people have chosen 532, which is obviously the one that the sort of main one that's in the kit. So that's good. And to see again, you can compare different approaches from exactly the same vehicle because people have built that particular machine. I think mine's just going to be a generic one. I can't use 532 because I've covered it all over with stowage, so it's going to be I think it'll be something random. But yeah, and I like the color of that as well. It's
no, thanks for that, Moz. Let's charge towards a conclusion here, because we're all, I think we're all a bit peckish at the moment. But now this is, goodness me, hang on to your hat, Spence. This is Paul Dunham rather, and he's also done one of them dioramas. But goodness me, it's quite, wow, indeed. I think Paul, if you're watching, I do think he's done something which is more of a fantasy thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it looks like more of a what if.
Yep. But
that's great.
Yep.
Really like that.
I know we're always talking about dioramas and things, and it's just how he's come up with a diorama there, which isn't just like a flat, flat base. He's actually got depth and angles to it, and it the way it just kind of like merges and blends with the model is, I think that's a top effort, isn't it? Really,
it really is. Yeah.
Yep. And I like his thinking with the camouflage as well. I do believe, from my book here, I'm sure some of our Australian friends will correct me. Weren't some of the Aussie Walker Bulldogs in like a camo like that?
I'm not sure. I wouldn't know that.
Okay.
That camouflage is 3-tone, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah. Wow. Yep. It suits the vehicle really well.
Yep. Oh, absolutely. Yep.
So he's added a few, obviously added some details to that as well, the same on side stowage bins, that kind of thing. But I really like the way this is painted, and the weathering around the lower hull is really nice too.
Yep.
The dust is built up there. That looks really good. But I love the vignette that he's created around it. Those rocks look good, and all the groundwork is superb actually.
Yeah, I like his muffler. That looks really kind of heat blasted. And brilliant. I mean, this has gone better than I really could have expected, because I thought, well, if we get a couple of people build a model, that'll be fine. But no, this is just, it just fires your enthusiasm up for the hobby again. So right, and the next one is, because we're going to rattle towards a conclusion here. The next one is SDS modeling, SDS plastic modeling rather, and again they've added some stowage and bits and pieces to it, and nice olive drab. That it's just got that browny kind of tinge to it that I always associate with olive drab anyway.
I think that the highlighting around the inside of the panels on this one's nice too.
Yeah.
But I think with the addition of the stowage does make a difference to the model. I really do think that, because it just adds that lived in feel that I think models without tends not to have quite as much. And it is quite an easy thing to do if you can get the chance. To just put some kit bags on it and that kind of thing. And you can see how the back of that turret looks kind of cluttered, and I like the way that
I also like the fact that he's given it some thought. It's not just precariously stuck on there; it's actually tied down as well.
Yeah, absolutely. The mud around the tracks on this one's really nice.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, I like that very, very, very much. Again, it's inspired me to build something where I absolutely kind of cover it in stowage and follow your example, which is to glue it all on first, then paint it and weather it as as one thing. It's not something I tend to do, and it's one of those things that I just feel as though I really got to kind of like stretch myself and push myself to to do something different.
Yeah, it is something that I've practiced over the years, and I try and glue. You can't do it with everything because there are certain things that you're going to need to have different colors and that kind of thing. But I do tend to put stowage in place, glue it all in place, or sculpt it in place, and then paint the whole lot all in one go, as if I was painting the figure. I very, very rarely paint stowage individually and then glue it onto a model. I try and put it into place, unless I'm doing the Legacy collection where that was a specific part of the process. But with most of my armor builds, I tend to put all of the stowage in place, and that way I can create a consistent color palette across the model, and also it means that I only paint what I can see. So I'm not painting the back of packs and then gluing them in place. I'm only painting faces that I can see, and the rest of it, if it's in shadow, I leave it in shadow and just put all the highlights and that kind of thing. So on this one, taking the turret off, you can see that the packs are in place. All of those were glued to the side of the model on both sides. They were glued to the side of the model before the model was painted, and then I painted the whole thing in a dark khaki color, and then picked out airbrushed highlights onto those bedrolls and packs, and then I'll paint them the way that I would paint a figure. I just find it easier for me to do that, and then I haven't got lots of little bits lying around that I can sort of mess up. I've only got a hull, the wheels, and the turret. That's all.
Or in my case, lose.
Or in your case, lose. Yeah, I think that's probably a little too painful at the moment, so we should gloss over that.
Don't use the word gloss; it triggers people.
It's a trigger word.
Craig Sargent, I've just gone online and had a look. Yeah, the New Zealand ones were painted in this MERDC camouflage. So there are some examples out there. So thanks for that, Craig. James Fisher says, has it frozen? No, we're freezing, but the image hasn't frozen. So, right, the last couple for tonight. And this one is Stefano Mastrodi. And again, he's gone for pretty much kind of out of the box, but he's also added some tow cables, which again, I wish I'd thought of that. That's a brilliant idea. and also I like the tarp hanging over the back of the turret as well. Yep. And in fact, I've just looked up mine and realised on mine I haven't even added the spare tracks yet. Duh. I know.
I hope you still got them.
You see, again, this highlights other people's approaches. Is that those vision blocks underneath the turret on the hull?
Yep.
I didn't even think of doing anything with them because I thought, oh, they're just holes. They'll be in shadow. I'm not going to worry about it. But the number of people who actually kind of added something, put something in there, either clear or something solid, so that they could paint the vision blocks, with a color or whatnot. So see, again, this is what I mean. This is the great thing about you set a challenge and then you see what other people do. And I've seen so many ideas from this challenge that, quite frankly, I'm going to steal. So, let's not beat around the bush here. Right. Last one for tonight is, and we're kind of back to almost where we started again. And this is Tim Therian, and he's done a beautiful Japanese self-defense force one. And yep, again, I wish I'd done a Japanese one now, for obvious reasons. But
I'm genuinely surprised you didn't.
I was that close to doing one, but I thought, no, everybody's gonna think, oh, for God's sake, JM, let it go. It's just
of all of the people that was taking part in this challenge, I would have thought that you would literally be number one as a person to do a Japanese Walker Bulldog, given your mild interest, shall we say, in
small interest in
crazy looking dinosaur thing,
kaiju Eiger, as it's known in Japan. Yeah. So
strange.
I've actually got a pair of Godzilla slippers as well. So I could have actually
of course
done
you have. I'm surprised that you haven't got a full Godzilla bodysuit that you wear around the house when you're not on camera.
Oh, that's a point. Yeah, that's a good thought. I like the idea of that. Anyway, there we go. Like I say, that is Tim Therian. Really like that. Again, it's just seeing other people's models and just thinking, oh, I wish I'd done that one now. I wish I'd done a.
Well, you know what you can do? You can go out and buy another one for 10 squids, and then you can, at your leisure, build another one of these models with a full complement of road wheels, and you could do a Japanese one, and then you could pick all of the ideas up and then reveal it later this year on one of the broadcasts.
Or I could say I'm taking part in the challenge, then fail completely to take part in it. So
that's the other option, obviously. I mean, we approach these things in our own individual and, quite frankly, interesting ways, because this is, after all, the interesting modeling page. And that would be another approach. You simply pretend that you're going to get it finished, and things fall by the wayside in quite spectacular fashion.
Jim Altergott makes a very good point. He says, JM, if you combine your model with a Godzilla figure, it would need to be the 1960s classic Godzilla figure to match the timeline of your tank. Possibly, Jim, or it could be the -1 version, which I do believe is still playing at cinemas in this country, bizarrely. So, cracking film.
I can't remember the last Godzilla film I watched.
Sorry?
I can't remember the last Godzilla film I watched.
Probably the 2014 one, actually.
Yeah, might be. Yeah, maybe.
But, folks, that has been an absolute blast. So thank you, everybody who joined in with our Walker Bulldog Challenge. It was so good to see so many people actually sitting down and building models and enjoying themselves. So we will be doing another one at some stage, and
maybe next time I'll finish it.
I'm not saying anything. I'm not saying anything, mate. I'm currently experiencing the Italy AMX challenge, in as much as I'm hoping to get the clear part so I can finish the darn thing off now. So if
Okay,
you remember,
is that the simple AMX that you had almost complete at the Nationals
yep,
almost 3 months ago?
shush, man, for goodness sake. I've also, the other thing I've got to do is process my photographs that I took this afternoon of my Walker Bulldog, so that I can actually get them on the Facebook page. So I wouldn't mind, but it's not like what else was I doing today? I was just solidly finishing this one off and processing photographs, and that worked out well, didn't it? Anyway,
Yes.
anyway, a huge thank you to everybody who took part. It genuinely was a blast, and it's so good to see so many people energized and enthused. And in fact, I think it was Jim who made Jim Altergott made this point. He said this group build highlights the positive aspects of internet modeling: contributing, participating, fellowship, respect, and acceptance for all. And on that note, I can't add anything to what Jim said there.
Before we go, can I just have a couple of seconds to say that next weekend, I think the 21st, so a week today, is the IPMS Bolton show. I'm sure that Rob Monfils will thank me for mentioning this. It's the IPMS Bolton show, which we're all keeping our fingers crossed that it doesn't snow quite as much as they're suggesting it might. So if anybody's in the area of whatever it's called now, it used to be called the Reebok Stadium, Bolton Wanderers football ground. I think it's called University of Bolton Stadium, I think maybe now. If anybody's in that location, around that area on Sunday, fingers crossed, come and say hello, come to the show. I think it's probably the best one-day show in the country now. I think it's that good. It's really brilliant. It's well worth a visit if you can get a chance. There's going to be loads of clubs there. Harris Ali, my good friend, and I are going to be displaying alongside the Shropshire guys. So we've got a display of our own that we're going to take some models down there, including some of the new stuff. Harris has got some new World War I stuff, and I'm going to take some of the stuff that I did take to Nationals, but you might have missed. So Seeking will be down there. The F-35B will be there. The new V1 diorama and a couple of other things, plus the new thing that I'm building at the moment, which I'm hoping to get finished. It'll be debuted at the show, so you'll be able to have a look at that as well if you want. So please, if you're there, if you're anywhere near the show, please pop along. And if you are at the show, come say hello. I'm going to be there, and I'll look forward to seeing you, and having a bit of a chinwag. It'll be really nice if we could all get together. So that's next Monday.
A cup of coffee, for goodness sake.
Please come. It'll be fabulous.
Yep. Brilliant stuff. Well, thank you everybody who tuned in tonight. I'm sorry we weren't able to do a roll call, but thank you everybody. Rob Monfils says cheers for the plug. Steve Parker says just missed the program tonight. Is there going to be a place to see them all? Sorry if have already said. Actually, that's a good idea, Steve. We'll create a gallery and put it on the Facebook page. I won't do it tonight. I'll do it tomorrow at some stage. Also, Steve, you can always watch this on catch up on the Facebook page or on our YouTube page as well. So if you want to relive the epicness of this evening, you can do so via those two portals there.
And in the process, sharing my obvious shame and pain at not completing one.
Well, your shame is only matched by my ability to lose.
It has to be said, given that we were the drivers for this group build, we have singularly failed in our task to complete these models to a standard that can best be said to be
described as competent.
Yeah, competent. Yeah, we've proved, I think, without a shadow of a doubt, we are pound for pound the most incompetent compares of any modeling broadcast on any platform on the planet. And we've managed to do that in less than 4 weeks, which has taken an incredible amount of skill. I'm just happy that that's where we've got to now. We are literally that bad.
And we managed to do it without his mantonness hanging around us. So
I know, and actually, as much as I've missed the big old bear, and I wish him all the best for the new year, having him not here was probably a sensible move, because I don't believe for a single second he would have let either of us off the hook for the last hour and a quarter.
Right, we will be back. Hopefully, we'll be back next weekend with Drew, and hopefully, we'll be doing catch up with some of the news items. So, until then, again, big thank you everybody for taking part in the challenge. We will do another one, and we'll have a word behind the scenes and come up with something that's equally apposite. So that's a good word, that, isn't it? You can tell I got a dictionary for Christmas.
Very impressed.
On that note, it just makes me say thank you, Spencer. Thank you, everybody who tuned in tonight. And fingers crossed, we'll see you next Sunday for the Sunday service. So
I won't. I'll be in Bolton.
We'll be in Bolton. Yeah.
So
but we'll nick your pictures and show them on the show. So there we go.
If you are in Bolton, I'll see you in Bolton.
Yeah. Everybody, stay safe, and we'll see you again. Take care. Bye.